On the 17th of May, 2023, after 10 years of service, the Mineplex server took its last breath and shut down, leaving the lobbies that were once bursting with players desolate, a faded memory of what once was the largest Minecraft server, the end of an already forgotten era. But how does a Minecraft server go from 30,000 players to on average less than 100? The news of Mineplex's demise spread quickly, sending shockwaves through the entire Minecraft community, leaving many to mourn the loss of their childhood server, a server they once cherished. But what if I told you this? Mineplex's death could have been prevented. In fact, Mineplex can actually still be saved. And there are steps that Mineplex can take to restore what they once had. Okay, I know what you're saying. Guiny, the servers are already shut down. They're totally bankrupt and finished. And yes, the servers are gone, and they probably don't have too much money. But despite this might not be the end for Mineplex. And today, I'm gonna explain exactly why that is. By the way, YouTube keeps removing subscribers, so please make sure you're subscribed. But before we get into how Mineplex can be saved, we need to talk about the bigger picture and figure out what actually caused the death of Mineplex. People forget that Mineplex was actually bigger than Hypixel at one point. So let's begin our journey to discovering what was so crucial to the server's popularity and what went horribly wrong. These are the 5 mistakes Mineplex made that ultimately caused its demise. Number 5. Competition. Competition can actually be a good thing, but unfortunately, this was not the case. It's January 2015, and Mineplex has just set the record of 43,000 online players. But another server is growing slowly in the background. And only a year later, Hypixel's player count had already doubled from around 15,000 to above 30,000. And it's safe to say that over the next few years, a lot of these Mineplex players were switching to Hypixel. Was it the competition that caused players to start bleeding from Mineplex? Or was this just a sign? We need to look at the gameplay. The most crucial part of running a Minecraft server is arguably having unique game modes to offer a valuable gameplay experience. From the beginning, Mineplex's game modes were pretty far from perfect. A blog post from Jeffrey, who was part of the Mineplex staff, mentions how the new minigames that Mineplex were making at the time were actually failing to gain any community support and were actually heavily disliked, while their most popular games, such as survival games and Skywars, would just become more outdated with infrequent updates. There were frequent complaints about any changes made to game modes, and a lot of players would complain about Mineplex's mechanics, the frequent server lag that was developing at the time, and PvP. The blog post mentions how the game modes were built and put together very quickly, which resulted in huge bugs with terrible glitches in every game mode. But then what caused the bugs? Was it the staff team? Were they to blame? Number 3. Corruption. On a server as large as Mineplex, having a good and efficient staff team is crucial to maintain the server's quality. The staff team issues began around 2014, when Minecraft's EULA unexpectedly changed, which prevented servers from selling exactly what they wanted, such as pay-to-win elements, which was exactly what Mineplex relied on at the time. This caused Mineplex to lose apparently around 20% of its revenue, which is in fact millions of dollars. And with a staff team to pay and competition growing even larger at this point, it would cause a lot of strain to be put on the Mineplex staff team in order to maintain the #1 Minecraft server. In result, a lot of the staff team would actually focus on different investments, and in mid-2016, Chiss, one of the original creators of Mineplex's creativity, would end up leaving, and then Spew, who was responsible for recruiting large creators such as Captain Sparkles, would end up leaving. The community would begin to suffer in the coming months as the server would become less and less managed. With the community trashing the staff members, a lot of the staff would then respond really poorly to concerns, which leads to number 2. Number 2, community. Throughout 2016, Mineplex's community had become more and more toxic due to the changes, and in late 2017, multiple developers and admins were actually fired with no notice. The sense of community was now arguably at its lowest. A lot of the internal coding of Mineplex was left untouched, resulting in the server's lag increasingly getting worse. The poor code meant that adding any new features would require rooting through years of outdated programming. Even worse, this drew attention away from the growing cheater problem on Mineplex. Hacking became much more prevalent, which would ruin the gameplay and censor community, as players saw no reason but to believe that the staff team were just ignoring the growing cheater problem. And with the lack of community interaction, Mineplex would continue to release game mode after game modes which were not appealing towards any of the players, and due to controlling the flow of criticism on the forums, players were silenced for even trying to create awareness of the issues. Finally, number 1, adaptation. With no sense of community, no creativity, community, Mineplex had lost what made them so popular in the first place: the ability to follow trends. For example, when Bed Wars came out on Hypixel, it took 11 months for Mineplex to release their competing game mode, and by then it was already too late. For Mineplex to be revived, the entire server would need to undergo a huge overhaul, requiring the server to be completely recoded from the ground up, which, you know, could probably take a month, while also being very costly, not to mention a new set of trendy game modes, ranks, and staff. But is the revival of Mineplex even possible? The news of the shutdown gained an unimaginable amount of publicity, with several news outlets covering the topic, hundreds of thousands of people engaged with Mineplex's Twitter, and with all this support, Mineplex actually announced that they now have a new server owner, and that plans are now in the works for a much more modern Mineplex server to be created. It's unlikely that Mineplex can sustain this level of hype through public relevancy for a long enough period of time to make the server, but it does seem really promising. It seems that the Mineplex team are actually committed this time to bringing the server back, with lots of work being done to fix the server's backend, and former staff members such as Chiss have actually returned. Even the Mineplex Twitter has actually been active, and rumors of fresh game modes and revamped old game modes under a fresh new code have spread, promising a new experience with none of the previous lag which plagued the server. There was also apparently a project undergoing to make a new Mineplex called Plexverse. However, operations have ceased and the concept has been abandoned. Although things are looking good for Mineplex, rumors of Mineplex being over $40,000 in debt have spread through the community. The question must be asked of whether or not running a Minecraft server can even still be justified. And despite the financial situation of the Mineplex server being relatively unknown, it's safe to say that they have ongoing finance issues. Why did they shut down the server so abruptly? They were probably running so low on money that they just had to, as a result of barely getting any new income. This is speculation, but Mineplex's finances are very unknown to the general public. If Mineplex does actually come back, it raises a lot of questions. Will the server still mainly be in 1.8, a version of Minecraft that's quickly approaching a decade old, or will it be rebranded for a 1.19 community? Either choice doesn't guarantee the server's actual success. History will repeat itself if the same issues aren't fixed, and the chance that a new Mineplex could just be forgotten about like Tubnet is still a massive possibility. Either way, Mineplex has formed memories over the years in which I and other players, we're grateful for. And that being said, if Mineplex recovers to the numbers it once had in its prime, it will go down in history as one of the greatest server comebacks in history. Mineplex can still be saved. And to end this video off on a happy note, here is a video of me saving Mineplex. I don't know why I made this, just enjoy it. Come on now. Come on. Yeah.